Hey guys, welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host as always, Harry Wilmington. And today's show, we're going to be answering a question from a guy that wants to know, is friends with benefits a lie, or am I just creating my own problems because I go down on them? And he's basically referring in general to the fact that he'll be connecting with women and early on he'll say, hey, this is just friends with benefits. I'm not looking for anything serious. It's just going to be strictly physical. Hope you're cool with that. And so the women are agreeing to this initially, and then over the course of their hookup relationship or whatever it is, it's not really a relationship, but over the course of them hooking up, after the span of 2 or 3 months, they start to catch feelings and he has to get rid of that woman. So I want to talk about why it is that the idea of friends with benefits, while it sounds like something that could work, typically is not something that's going to actually work out. And then I want to really talk specifically about this guy and his aversion to wanting to be on a love level or a deep level with a woman beyond just the sex stuff, okay? So we're going to get to all of that. This is part, by the way, of my 25 days of introvert dating advice from December 1st until December 25th. I've been doing daily shows to give you guys some really solid information leading up to the holidays. And then after the 25th, I'm going to be taking a couple weeks off for holiday stuff for my birthday. So if you have anything you want me to discuss on this show before the end of the year, definitely write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com, all right? So let's go ahead and get into this guy's message. I'm going to stop at sporadic points here and there to give my commentary. So he says, the last 4 women I've casually dated have all ended up falling in love with me in a short period of time. This happens despite me being very clear about not wanting anything serious from the start. As soon as they confess love for me, I stop seeing them because I don't want to lead them on. So I do want to, before I get into the rest of this message, I do want to point something out to you guys, all right? Is that he's saying the problem he's having is he's telling all these women, hey, I don't want a relationship. And then 2 or 3 months later, they're wanting a relationship. Now, what do I tell you guys on this show all the time? The number one thing I say time and time again is on average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings for you, at which point she'll come to you and ask for a relationship. The only way that's able to work, though, is if during the course of that 2 to 3 months, you're not looking pushy, you're not looking needy, and you're not the one trying to ask for a relationship. And this guy, unbeknownst to him, is demonstrating that perfectly. He's coming to these women saying, hey, I just want to have a good time. I just want to have fun. We ain't got to make it serious. And that's making the women of their own accord, as they spend more time with him, start to realize that they actually want it for a relationship. So let that be a lesson to you guys that are thinking, well, I got to call the time, I got to be around all the time, I got to confess my feelings, I got to take her out nonstop, and I got to just be forcing myself down her throat. I'm telling you, the laid back approach of take her on a date, show her a good time, leave her alone for a bit, don't seem too attached, don't try to confess your feelings, really is the way to go if you're legitimately trying to get a woman to want to choose you, as this guy has shown, all right? Continuing, he says, all 4 situations went like this. Hung out a couple times, drinks, dinner, concerts, etc., without any sex. By the 3rd or 4th date, we're having sex, and I always go down on these women because I'm into getting them off. And then, of course, he does other stuff too. That will last 2 or 3 months before they admit to being in love with me. It sucks because I'm breaking their hearts, and then I have to find someone else to casually date. It's frustrating, and I feel like a jerk. So, again, he's literally pointing out all the stuff I tell you guys. He waits until the 3rd or 4th date to have sex, so he's not pushing it on that 1st or 2nd date, which means by the 3rd or 4th date, the woman's probably wondering, hey, I'm having a good time with this guy. He's not pushing sex, but do I want sex? I think I do. So if something pops up, I'm ready to let it happen, all right? And then he says that, he goes down on them, he's doing stuff 2 or 3 months, and then they admit to being in love, okay? So why is it that this is happening? Because I know as a logical guy, you're thinking, if I just logically tell a woman that I don't want a relationship, and if I logically tell her that this is emphatically about sex, and she agrees to that, then why would she, months down the line, all of a sudden change her mind, all right? So this is where we get into the physiologics of sex, the chemical reactions of sex, and more importantly, the bonding that helps women connect to you, okay? So most of you, I assume by now, know about the chemical called oxytocin. For those that don't, when you have sex, a chemical called oxytocin is released. And this is like basically called the bonding chemical. But it's the chemical that is designed in both men and women to want to connect with the person that's making us feel these things. And so sex, it doesn't have to necessarily be as a result of sex, just, a light touch or just, talking and bonding could be a way for that oxytocin to pop up. But sex is a really fast accelerator of having that oxytocin come out and make both sexes start to feel things, okay? Now, women have more oxytocin than men do. So when you have sex with a woman, even if she's verbally saying and logically thinking, this is just about sex, once those chemicals get activated, and then you repeatedly activate them time and time again through consistent and constant sexual pleasure, then over time, what's going to start to happen is those chemicals are going to go from just feeling about, oh, he makes me feel so good and it feels so great because he touches me this way, to, oh my God, I really love this guy. I feel like I'm really deeply connected to him. And now I want him to be in a relationship with him, and I want to go just beyond the physical stuff, okay? So understand that it is important for you to not be ignorant of oxytocin and what sex is designed for. Sex was designed to bond people together. It's designed to release these chemicals so that way in the wild, a woman can bond to a guy that's going to want to take care of her, and a guy is going to be able to bond to a woman that's going to want to take care of him, okay? And so I think in this modern day and age of this whole sexual liberation, and we should be able to do what we want to, we forget that as logically advanced as we are, our lizard brains and our body is still very primitive. It wants what it wants. It still has its natural reactions to fear, flight, and more importantly, as it pertains to bonding with another person, it's still going to release those things that are going to say, hey, you should be with this person long term versus just hooking up with them consistently. And hey, this bonding is so good, I don't want to let that person go to somebody else. And so the majority of women that you hook up with are probably going to at some point want to be connected with you if the sex is really good, and also if you're consistently releasing these chemicals inside of them to where they're going to want to bond with you, they're probably going to want more than just a friendship or friends with benefits situation. Now, to be absolutely fair, men have this too, okay? And so think about it like this. As a guy, okay? I'll take myself for example, okay? As a guy, I know that when I connect with somebody physically, I am bonded with them in some way. Even if we break up, even if we only have a couple hookups and I never see him again, that person is always going to be in my head somewhere, in my mind. There's going to be flashbacks to feelings and times that I might have hooked up with this person here, or this other person there, or did this thing or did that thing, even long years after they're gone. I did a show earlier this year about a woman that I used to date like a couple years ago that ended up dying earlier this year. Hadn't seen her in like a few years, and that still like greatly affected me, partly because we had connected and hooked up quite often. Now, there are women that I've gone on dates with that we didn't get to that stage where we got sexual that I never think about. I don't have any feelings towards them. I don't know where they are in the world. I do not care. But the ones that I physically connected with, that level of bonding is still there on some level, even if it's a smaller level, simply because that oxytocin got released and we had that physical connection. Now, the difference is I'm a guy that's going inside of a woman, okay? Women have to, beyond just the sexual act, part of that sexual act for them is making the conscious choice to allow a guy to break through their barriers and enter inside of them. So that's a deeper psychological thing that women have to do that men don't have to do, okay? And it's not something they take lightly. It's why they give you such a hard time on those early dates. It's why they try to protect themselves and say, well, I don't want to have sex right away. I want to get to know you, because they know that once that barrier is broken, once they've allowed you to enter into them, that's going to be a whole different level of thought about you, of feeling about you that they didn't have before, okay? And then so now she's making the decision to let you consistently enter into her on a regular basis, and you're sitting there thinking, but why can't she just be friends? That is a hard mind game for women to get through to even let you in the first place. So to let you constantly into her as if she's letting you into her soul, and then you just say, well, I don't really want to get that deep. I don't want to do that. That's a hard thing for anybody, but especially for women that are letting you inside of them to consider that, wait, you just want to just hook up and that's it? Like, how can you not want more of me? Like, I'm giving you all of me, and your response is, well, I don't really want all of you, so I'm out. Like, that's a hard thing. So even though logically you're having these conversations with women about, oh, we should just be hooking up and friends with benefits or whatever, recognize that just because this is a thing that's being said logically, it doesn't mean that emotionally that's going to actually work for her, okay? But I'll continue on his message. So he says, to add some more context, I take them on dates, I usually pay the bill, open the door for them, compliment them, and we do cool stuff together. To top it off, I'm a religious clam licker and think this may have something to do with my problem, but who knows? Well, That's not the problem. The problem is you are doing date activities, but you're not trying to actually date. In a sense of like, you're not trying to get in a relationship. So you're doing these things that are relationship oriented that to the woman feels like you're trying to be in a relationship with them, and then you're not actually trying to go that route. But for them, it feels so real that it feels like they're already in a relationship with you. So if you're not trying to be in a relationship with a woman, then you cannot be doing these extras. Like if you're just strictly trying to do just friends with benefits, that should be simply a, hey, come on over and we're hooking up. I'm not taking you out. I'm not doing these opening the doors for you. I'm not paying for your stuff. It is just about sex. Because when you go above and beyond that, it's going to look to her like you're trying to get actively into a relationship. And if that's not where you're going, then you can't be giving her signals. It would be like if a woman spent all night flirting with you and, touching you on your shoulder and grabbing your crotch. And then at the end of the date, she says, hey, you want to come to my place? And then you go to her place and she's feeling a touching up on you. And then she says, well, good night. Like, you have to obviously respect her boundary, but you'd be thinking like, but you did all of this as if we're going to hook up, and then we don't hook up. So take it that way. You're doing all this stuff that says you want to be in a relationship, but you don't actually want a relationship. So obviously she's going to be fooled, and that's not fair to her. Continuing on, he says, even though I have been overly clear about my intentions, I can see how they may interpret all of this as the old saying, actions speak louder than words. Exactly. Women are more often in the beginning going to read into your actions and what you're doing versus what you're saying. So if you're saying, I just want to hook up, but you're doing all these date activities, then what their subconscious is saying is ignore the words. These actions indicate he really wants to be with me. I just got to put myself out a little bit more, maybe have a little more sex with him, and then maybe come to him with my emotions and feelings and let him know how I feel so he'll be able to be like, oh, I feel that way too. Let's be in a relationship. If you know that is not your truth with this woman though, then you don't need to be giving her those signals. Those are false signals and they're not fair to her. Continuing, he says, my goal is to continue casual dating without breaking hearts. So what should I do differently? Well, here's the thing. Ultimately, guy, like I said, it is very, very hard to have a friends with benefits relationship where either person is not going to feel anything. I've only been able to successfully do it like a couple of times. And even with that, it was like at the point where we weren't feeling it anymore, like it was done, it was over. We were still friends or whatever. But like, that's a rarity. For the most part, obviously, if you're hooking up with somebody, it means on some level you find them attractive, whether physically, you guys get along well, whatever. And if she's hooking up with you, it means that if she's willing to open her body up to you, chances are it means that she's attracted to you on some level. It may not be at the moment in time the full level of a relationship, but it is something that says this could potentially build to that if we both agree that this is going that direction, okay? So that's why I say friends with benefits, as well-meaning as it sounds, is a really, really hard thing to pull off. And honestly, it's not something I recommend. Like, if you're going so gung-ho to spend all your time and energy to just hook up with random women and hope that it's just going to be like that, then get a hooker or somebody you can pay for that's going to do things to you, or a massage parlor, or whatever. But don't be going for women that are more often than not going to want to actively want a relationship. Now, all that said, a big problem I have with this guy, though, is that he seems like somebody that is scared of relationships for some reason. Maybe he has there's a stigma for him about it. Maybe he thinks that, if you get locked down by somebody, it means they're going to try to control you. Maybe his parents in the past didn't have a great relationship, so he never saw a relationship that was really well working growing up, so he doesn't want to get into one. But clearly, it's weird because he's going after women and saying, I want just physical stuff, but he's also taking them on dates and he's getting close to them. But at the point where they're coming to him, like he's not even having to struggle. They're coming to him saying, hey, you're doing all the right stuff and I want a relationship. His response is then, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do that. And so it's not bad. Some people want to live the Playboy lifestyle. Some people want to be able to just, keep it strictly physical and not have to add on the various attachments and responsibilities that come with being in a relationship. So if that is you, then best of luck to you. You could potentially find a woman at some point that's going to be like that, but also recognize that if you find a woman that's like that, she's probably going to be open to hooking up with other guys too. And in this world of like STDs and viruses, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but you may be, okay? But if you potentially see yourself someday as being a guy that wants to really have that deep connection and eventually wants kids and wants a family and wants a long-lasting love, then you really want to start looking into what is it about relationships that is scaring you off or is making you suddenly want to leave these women. Because all these women that he's dating, he's gone four women in a row now that have been hooking up with him regularly, have agreed basically to his program, which means they're basically down to follow whatever he's going to do, and then he just all of a sudden gets rid of them. So either he's picking women that he's hoping are going to be a little loose and maybe don't want to be settled down long term, or he's just legitimately scared or worried about getting into a relationship. And again, that's something for you to decide. I'm not saying that's a wrong lifestyle, but I am saying that's something to look into about what it is that's really scaring you off. I know out today, there's a lot of media out there in the manosphere and in other various things talking about how, women are trash and they wanted to use guys for money and they only want X guys. And I have found that ultimately not to be true. Like, the majority of women out there still want decent guys that are willing they can partner with, take care of, be funny with, laugh, grow a family with. Those good women are still out there. So if you're ruining good women by taking them out, trying to set up this whole friends with benefits thing and then pass them off, that's not fair to those women, but it's also not fair to you, because you have the right to be able to date somebody and be in a relationship with somebody that's going to be good for you long term, if you only learn how to not be so afraid of that, and to learn what red flags to look out for with women that you're trying to date, to learn what things that really gel with you, and figure out what it is, whatever that fear is that's making you kind of be hesitant. If you want help with that, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and click on the coaching tab. I would love to help talk you through whatever situation you're going through or whatever mind blocks you're having in terms of dating, and really get you into a place where you're more trusting of the dating process, more trusting of your ability to pick the right kind of woman, and not be so afraid should she come to you and say, I want a relationship, okay? So that's the website. You can also go to the website, check out my various eBooks, audiobooks, courses. My course, Introvert Dating Success, right now is up for you guys to get. You can check that out. It's one that's going to help you learn how to meet, greet, attract, date, and land and keep the woman of your dreams while staying your introverted self, all right? Also, you can go there to get a free copy of my best-selling ebook, No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. It is a stellar book that teaches you the ins and outs of why the way you're trying to date right now is actually chasing women away. Again, you can get it for free by signing up for my video newsletter with your name and email address. Also, guys, if you want to show support for this show and just the work that I do for you guys, you can do it in two ways. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/HarryWilmington. You can also leave me a cash app at $HarryWilmington. And of course, if you have something you want talked about on this show, write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Also, for those of you that are other dating coaches out there that want to be interviewed on my show, I'm starting to put together a new listing of people to interview for 2022. So if you want to be on that list, if you want to get interviewed, simply write to me and I'll send you a scheduling calendar so you can get on that. All right? So that's all I got for today, guys. I'm Harry Wilmington. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.